Hello, everyone. We are live. Hello, my name is Stacy Nell. I'm the Executive Director of the Kansas African American Affairs Commission, and this is our weekly Lunch and Learn. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by Miss Prisca Barnes. I should say Dr. Prisca Barnes.
Not yet.
Not yet?
On the way. I'm almost there. Very
you know
close.
What? I'm going to speak it into existence.
Okay, I'll take it.
Of the Storytime Village in Wichita. Hello, how are you today?
I am blessed. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. All right, so we only have a half an hour, and believe it or not, this half an hour goes very quickly.
Okay.
People are always like, oh my gosh, that was it. I'm like, yeah, that was it. But so I'm going to start by just doing a little quick bio of Ms. Prisca Barnes. Prisca Barnes is the founder and CEO of Storytime Village, a nonprofit organization that impacts the lives of children and families throughout Kansas, providing educational enrichment and community outreach. Prisca is a visionary leader with experience in nonprofit and educational sector management. She has received numerous commendations for her community involvement. She has played a significant role in building childhood literacy, especially for children of color, and cultivating a lifelong love of reading while building critical and corporate community partnerships. Ms. Barnes has received a Bachelor of Arts of Mass Communications from the HBCU Clark Atlanta University, a Master's of Arts from Wichita State University, and is a doctoral candidate.
Yes.
We're claiming it in educational leadership at Wichita State University. A published children's book author and illustrator, she recognized the continued need for books that share stories about the Black experience and candidly share fiction and nonfiction stories. Her book, People, Pride, and Promise, The Story of the Dockham Sit-In, has received the prestigious Kansas Notable Honor. And that's one of the videos I watched of you reading it. By the way, okay. She sings in the middle, and I was like, come on, Prisca. I was not ready, and I was pleasantly surprised. The book explores the decisive episode in the American Civil Rights Movement in the Midwest in which Black youth protested segregation at the Dockham Drugstore soda counter in Wichita. An advocate for her community, Black culture, and the arts, she has served as the executive director of the Kansas African American Museum. She currently has a touring traveling exhibit on the Dockham Drugstore sit-in, and she has served as the former youth advisory for the NAACP Youth Council, currently serves as the Kansas State Youth Advisor. She's an Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority member, vice president of the Wichita Chamber of Links, Junior League of Wichita, Wichita Rotary Club, and Arise African American Spiritual Ensemble. Do you sleep?
Sometimes.
And then, of course, the next question is, do you eat? What are you having for lunch today?
So I had a late lunch. I am trying to get myself back into shape. So I went to the gym this morning. Shout out to my trainer, Renier Palmer. He is the Kansas Governor's Council 2023 Kansas Health Champion. So I'm proud of him. But he's trying to help me get my life together. So he told me I couldn't eat bad today. I went home after the gym and just had some eggs. What else? Some turkey bacon and a pear. So we'll see what happens today. I'm going to try to stay away from carbs.
That's good
protein. We'll see how I can keep with that because I love bread and sugar.
Yeah, it's all food. It's all food. I wish you could out exercise a bad diet.
Can't.
But you can't.
Can't.
Well, as much as we can sit here and talk about exercise and diet, that's not why I asked you on the show. Yeah. So Storytime Village. Mm-hmm. Okay. Tell us about Storytime Village for those in the audience who may not be familiar, because I know you're primarily based in Wichita. Yes. So tell people about what Storytime Village is and what the vision is.
So Storytime Village is a children's literacy nonprofit based in Wichita, but our mission is Kansas focused. We inspire a lifelong love of reading for underserved Kansas children from birth to age 8. And for those who are not familiar with the birth to age 8 focus, up to 3rd grade, up to about 8 years old, there's some things happening in your brain. You're learning how to read. And then after that, there's some shift in your brain where you're just reading to learn. And so if you don't have the basic fundamentals by the end of 3rd grade, we can have a lot of discussion about the trajectory of children who don't have those basic fundamentals, and like jail cells that are, waiting for those who did not meet that critical milestone. We do our work focusing on early literacy, access to books, family engagement, advocacy and awareness. And we use those pillars to help move our mission forward, and really use the idea of the village as the way that we bring the community together, inform the community, put books in the hands of the children that need the most. All of those things that help us to create stronger, a stronger and more educated community. So that's a little bit about Storytime Village. We stay busy.
Yeah,
And the Kansas focus, we've been working to expand for years, but it wasn't until about 2021 when we received a grant from the Kansas Health Foundation that allowed us to expand. We have selected 4 key communities that we are branching into as we expand our work. That is Junction City, Topeka, Lawrence, Kansas City, Kansas, and the metro area. So we are doing things both in the Kansas and Missouri side of Kansas City, but our work is expanding in those areas. And then as we continue to grow there, we'll expand into different communities throughout the state and continue to grow and impact more families and children.
that's fantastic. So how did you get started in, well, you have a degree in mass communication, so you probably were thinking about these types of things, but what prompted you to actually start Storytime Village?
I was running away from my calling.
Oh,
Just, so I come from a family of educators, and they always thought I'd be a teacher, and they wanted me to be a teacher.
right.
And I wanted to be Oprah. I went to Clark Atlanta with that mass comm degree, and I was going to take the world by storm on news and TV and all of those great things. But I was running from my calling. And it was an Oprah moment that made me realize that. So I was the girl that watched Oprah every day at 4:00.
Everyone did.
But she had someone on her show that he worked for a Fortune 500 company, and he was traveling, the world, and he would go to these remote places and that did not have a lot of access to things. And what bothered him was they didn't have access to books. So he would pack them in his backpack, take them. And then what ultimately happened was he started building libraries, and then he started a publishing company. And at the time that I was watching this, my brother Jesse and I had just published a children's book. And I felt as though I was not doing enough with my life, and I was not going in the right direction. And that really made me start to research and learn more about the literacy issue, knowing more about, what is happening, our state. And I dare not I just recently looked at the numbers after the pandemic. We're in a really bad place. What I've been sharing, 85% of Black children, 4th grade students, are not reading at grade level.
Wow.
And that's a crisis.
Yeah.
It has not shifted. It's gone maybe 83, 85, back and forth. But that is a crisis. And it's been that way for years, for decades. And so someone has to do something about it. And that whole notion of to whom much is given, much is required.
Right.
If I didn't do anything about it, then, and I knew that knowing there's an issue, knowing I have the information in front of me, and knowing I had a tool, I had a book. I mean, that was a start. It was something to begin with. And so I knew nothing about nonprofits, but I did the research and started Storytime Village. And it started as a me, by doing this work by myself with some really awesome volunteers. And now it's more of a we, it's more of the village, where we have a team of people that are helping to do this work on a daily basis. We have great funding partners and a lot of supportive community members that are helping us move this forward. So started with I guess just me running from what I was supposed to be doing, and then ultimately coming back to it, because I'm not a teacher, but I am in the education area of focus. So I believe I made my way back to where I was supposed to be, and I get to do a little TV here and there. We have a TV, we have a program, we have a partnership with PBS. And so I get to do a little of that.
Yes. Is that because that's I was going to get to that eventually, because on your website it talks about there's a Storytime Village, the show has a season already aired?
So we had 2 seasons that were on the air, and we paused it because we have a new focus for the show. It's going to be a part of a curriculum that we are doing that's focused on early literacy. So for a 3 to 5 year old demographic. Mm-hmm. And so we've taken a step back. We've added some new characters. It's like a mashup between Sesame Street and Reading Rainbow.
It's with puppets.
Puppets. Yeah, we have little puppet characters, and then I'm the librarian.
Yeah, good.
But so it's just, we've tested the waters, but now we are really laser focused because we want the curriculum to have this component to add to it, the TV show. Plus, we are creating a whole series of books to go along with it. Wow. So the curriculum is something that will be able to be hopefully free and accessible to any child care center, whether it's a home provider or a center. That's something that we're looking at when it comes to equity. That's one of the challenges that we see, and we were looking for a solution in this to this equity problem and this kindergarten readiness challenge that we see. Kids coming into kindergarten not ready to learn because they don't have that basic fundamental. Right. We looked at it. We had some research, and we saw that, the home child care providers, we had some of them that really weren't that concerned about the babies reading or being read to or being exposed to books. They were like, they're babies, they don't know it. So we're hopefully going to have a solution to some of the challenges that we face in the state with kindergarten readiness and that early literacy as a tool.
Yeah, I'm a person who I take reading for granted, right? I grew up reading, and when I had my children, we read to them a lot. And I think I took reading for granted until I had a child who struggled to read. And then, so even this idea of reading and how does the brain work and how does it sort of understand reading? And so when we talk about literacy, and you touched on it earlier when you talked about the fact that if a child is not exposed to books or exposed to reading early, that the outcomes later on are detrimental. And so I did want to talk about this, like this idea of why is it important? Because I think literacy strikes me as one of those things that either an adult might be like me who takes reading for granted, or an adult might be one of the ones who didn't have the strong foundation, who may not be a strong reader. That's something that's not, you don't know that, but it's by looking at somebody.
Right.
So talk about I do want to spend some time to talk about the importance of literacy and how this really does set people up for better outcomes later on.
So definitely, I think one of the things that we have a challenge, and that's why we have one of our pillars as the advocacy and awareness. You don't know what you don't know. If you, and a lot of times we will put the literacy issue into the hands of someone else. That's the teacher's problem, or that's, the parents' problem. And that's where we come in as the village, and we say, this is all our problem. The James Baldwin, his quote, "These are all our children will either benefit from or pay for what they become." This is something that impacts everything that we do. It impacts our economy. It impacts, the quality of life not only for the child that eventually becomes an adult, but everyone around them. I was listening to the story of a man who could not read in his adult years, and he lost everything. And the story that he told, it was he had everything, but he lost it because he couldn't read. He lost it because he had to keep making up stories, and he lost a job. He got another job, and the job was driving a truck across the nation and delivering packages. And he couldn't even read the signs. He would have to stop and ask for help. And ultimately, you mess up on your job, you're going to lose it. But he lost it because he didn't have the basic fundamentals. He lost everything. It was a lot more to the story, but it ultimately boiled all the way down to just not being able to read caused so many problems for him and struggles in his life and those around him. And when he gained that skill, I mean, he started, and you could hear him, he started reading the real basic, see, spot, run, and those. I mean, he was so excited because now he could read a stop sign, and he could read the sign to go to, to travel to, if you're going to drive from here to Oklahoma.
East or west versus north or south. Yeah.
He had hope, and he could really start his life. He was kind of just making his way, but now he could really have a quality of life. And so that really, that pulled at my heartstrings.
Right. Yeah.
To know that we have so many young people that are they get pushed through, and they don't have the basic fun. If we have 85% of our kids now reading at grade level, all those kids they're still making it through the 4th grade. They're going to 5th grade, and they're going all the way up to whatever grade they can if they don't drop out in middle school. And if you graduate them, what is going to be the quality of their life when they graduate from high school? What are we as employers or people that need you to be able to interact with us in the community, be the person that works for the city or whatever it is that we need to get things done in our communities? What does that look like for them? I think we're failing our children. We're failing our entire community when we don't focus on literacy. And a lot of times the reason why we put the literacy issue in other people's hands is because this is a long-term investment. As an employer, you don't look at 3rd grade reading achievement. Right. That's not going to benefit you for years, but it is going to benefit you in years.
Eventually, yeah.
Think about it. And so I think we have to be concerned. We have to think forward thinking. That is only the sustainability of our communities is forward thinking. Can't think right now. And so literacy is a forward thinking. It is an issue that definitely matters, that we should be putting our focus in now.
That's, so important. So important.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just important. I know your program, I'm going to drop in the chat the link to storytimevillage.org so people can go to your website and look at all the different programs and things that you have. So I thought I'd give you a chance to talk through a couple of the programs, either the Read Across the Miles program or the 1 Million Book Challenge. And I definitely want to ask about Planet Comic-Con, because I was at Planet Comic-Con and I did have fun. It was huge. And so it's possible I just didn't make it to the corner of the room where you guys were.
They gave us a whole space. We were like I don't even know the streets. But we were down on the first level. Okay. And so if you were entering on the first level, you would have walked right into our space. We weren't up in the big, the 3rd floor where Nope, we had our own space. We were invited. So a part of that expansion into the Kansas City area. We were excited to be invited by Planet Comic-Con to come and do some fun things. We brought our capes. We brought tons of books that we gave away. And we had face painting and all of that, and caricature drawings and all of that. But the whole point, and then we also were distributing tablets. But the whole point is to start to build relationships in the Kansas City community, and to create more exposure. And then what we want to do is have that tie to understand that you can look at literacy in a different way, using comic books and graphic novels as a tool to inspire a lifelong love of reading. We thought that was super fun. We want you to see that you can, educators and students, they could be heroes in their classroom. So that was the whole focus.
I used to be a math teacher, but this is a while ago. This is like from 2006, 2007. I was a math teacher in middle school. And at that point they were doing, for our homeroom, we would read for 15 minutes. And there was much discussion about what is allowable, appropriate reading. And so this idea of graphic novels, comic books, magazines, the idea is like, whatever if the kid wants to read it, let them read it. But it's not cheating. It's not, so yeah, there's this idea of,
and I think,
I'm a purist. So I was one of the people who had to sort of be brought along. Like, let them read if they want to read a magazine about sports, they don't have to read a novel, but if they want to read a magazine about sports, at least that's reading. And I've kept that with me because my daughter, I have a 14-year-old, and she was the one who it was harder to get her to read. It was slow going. And we homeschooled and when she was learning how to read. And then my younger child, who's 12, literally learned to read because she was sitting on my back. Like, she would sit on my back and lean over my head while I was teaching the older child how to read. And that's how she learned to read. I have no recollection of teaching my younger child how to read. But she literally, I remember the weight of her sitting like literally on my back and leaning over my shoulder.
The younger ones always if you have older siblings, the younger siblings always, typically, not always, but they usually soak it in like a sponge, and the older sibling supports the younger sibling, and I love that.
My older child now, she loves like murder mysteries, like these complicated teen drama murder mysteries.
I'm sorry.
And I'm like, what are you reading? She's like, oh, well, then this person, and then, like, they killed this person, and then they hid the body, and I'm like, okay, you're reading.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, hey, what you read.
Look, I think that's the right age. That's the exciting time when you want a little drama.
Yeah,
you need a little bit. You need a little bit.
She likes the drama, and I have to remind myself that when I was her age, I read about vampires. Like,
you want a little bit of drama. Yeah.
Well before the whole I read about vampires before vampires were cool. Okay, but 1 million books challenge or the Read Across the Miles program, either one of those you want to talk about?
Well, I think the 1 million books, we're right in the throes of it. 1 million books, that is our commitment. It's a long-term commitment. 1 million books, that's a lot of books. But it's doable. We are really focused on early literacy right now. With our mission being 0 to 8, we focused a lot of our energy with K through 3rd grade. And in our strategic planning, we took a step back and said, we're missing the mark here if we're not putting a big emphasis on that kindergarten readiness, that 0 to 5, And so the 1 million books is to put hands into the hands of children and families that from that kindergarten readiness age group. So any child that is kindergarten and below, we want to make sure they have books that are age appropriate, that are going to help them to learn, and then not only have books, but we want to give them resources, family engagement activities, things that we can do to ensure that these children are supported and ready to enter kindergarten. So if we're raising funds, we're collecting books, all of those things during this 1 million book challenge. And what we'll continue to do is report out, where our progress is, how we're meeting this challenge. But this is a community-wide effort. This is a statewide effort. Everybody, let's lock arms and let's get 1 million books into the hands of our kindergartners and below.
Good. How are you handing them out? Are you going through like churches or schools or doctor's offices, or how is it?
So there'll be all of the communities that I mentioned, the 5 communities, Wichita and beyond, the other 4 that I mentioned that we are expanding into. And what we are doing, so Wichita, we have a series of ways that we go about that work. We have summer programs that we give books out through. It's actually starts in the summer through the fall. We have story time in the park. We give away free books, read alouds, all of that. And we will be hiring AmeriCorps Vistas to serve in each of the additional 4 communities. Their role is to create the community engagement, the family engagement, and to support the distribution of books and activities in those communities. So if you live in any of those 4 communities, you'll get a knock on your door.
Oh yeah.
Answer it, because it's Storytime Village asking you to partner with us and work with us so that we can be the village together. And that's one of the things that we want to make sure that we are very loud and clear about. When we come into a community, we're not coming to take over. We're not coming to say that we have all the answers. We're coming to work with the community, to serve the community, and to serve with the community. So if there's someone that is, we don't want to duplicate services. We want to undergird and support those services that are being done in the communities that we're moving into.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Okay, so I had a couple questions. Back to the show. When will the next season start?
The beginning of 2024. So we're taping this summer, editing, and we'll be ready first quarter of 2024.
Okay, on KPTS, and that's
It's changed the name. Now it's just PBS Kansas. Wherever it is, it says that we need to change it. If it says KPTS still, we need to change it. It's PBS Kansas now.
Okay, it's on your website. So make note.
We're gonna fix it.
Updating your website.
We'll fix it
because it's coming to PBS Kansas. And then I did want to make you talked about the fact that you're going to hire the Vista people, because I did notice that on your website you are hiring a lot of different roles. So if you wanted to do a little.
Oh, yes, we are looking for, so there are several opportunities, well, not just several, we have lots of opportunities that are open right now. Our website is going to actually be updated because we have some new positions that are coming up. We also have our summer associate program that is about to start in May. And I think the applications are due by the 12th of April. So if you're interested in serving for the summer, it's from May through August. We have 10 positions that are going to be open, and we're looking for awesome folks to join us for the summer. We'll be doing all kinds of things to support literacy in our community. So those positions, check our website in the next week or so for updates, and we'll have some new positions up. And then those positions in each one of those communities that I mentioned, they're open and available right now.
Fantastic. All right. So I went to the website and to the link specifically for the summer associates. So I put that associates, and so I put that in the chat.
Thank you.
Yes. So yeah, check out, you guys have a great social media presence. I was like, this is
Thanks.
really fun and engaging and colorful, and it makes me want to click on everything. So
Yay! Thanks.
working well. Whoever's in charge of your social media, tell her
We have an amazing social media person, and she's awesome.
she's doing a great job.
Thank you.
Here we go. Look, we're at 30 minutes.
Oh, look at that. We were just having fun, just talking.
Man, it goes very quickly. So I do want to take at the end of, you're all about literacy and I'm all about voting. Those two things, I mean, you know, you got to go hand in hand. So always at the end of everything, I always tell people, make sure that you check on your voter registration, ask your friends if they are registered to vote. Yeah. And as we get closer to an election year, 2023 is an election year. There's elections every year, just to make sure that our community is voting.
Yes.
But thank you, Miss Barnes, soon to be Dr. Barnes. I'm still claiming it for you. Thank you, Miss Barnes, for coming on the show and talking about literacy and Storytime Village. I think your work is fantastic. I know when I first got this position, everyone's like, Storytime Village, Storytime Village. And I was like, I don't even know what Storytime Village is. But now I know.
All right.
Now I'm on board.
Okay. I love it.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And I will see everyone next week.
Bye.